Well, we've made it to week 2, and this episode was absolutely fantastic. And it reminds me of a lot of the reasons I think that Oshinoko got so big as it did last year. And then obviously the hype for it going into it and as it is now. Because it has this like aspect to it that is, I guess, not fourth wall breaking, but definitely talking about topics that are more realistic with life and like real and like things that like actual people deal with and the criticisms that they get. Obviously, we witnessed a lot of that last season as well. But the way they interpret those things and they handle it makes it just that much more freaking saucy and lovable as a series. And we'll talk about that here with this episode review and go a little more into it towards the end here. But with that being said and out of the way, let's kind of discuss this episode first. So this one kind of starts out instantly recapping the last, scene of episode 1 where our our mangaka herself is like not happy with the script. Abiko is just not having it. Even when she goes with her senpai to the meeting, it's just not going well. So we get this little instant time skip back to earlier, I want to say. Not necessarily that day. Well, it is that day for some aspects, but some aspects it's not. So we go to see Aqua and Kana walking into the rehearsal studios before they even get the scripts, and she was there meeting everybody. And this is when we run into Melt, who obviously worked on the last project with them, and he sees those two there, and he kind of excited about it. But he also discusses the fact of obviously it's been 9 months since they recorded that live action series of that last one that they did where he really sucked at acting. And so he's kind of like, I've gotten better, and because he can kind of tell just by looking at Kana's face that she wasn't impressed with his acting in the last series. But he's kind of like even coming on himself, saying like, if I'm bad, just let me know, because I want to know, I need to improve. And so with that kind of established, we got to go meet the director, not the director, but kind of like the head of building everything here, Raida. And they're introducing themselves and what their companies are, obviously, and who they're going to be playing. And we got kind of a reintroduction of all these characters, like the director and everybody else. And after we get all that fun stuff, the director is explaining what's going to happen that day. Pretty much, just introductions, read through the scripts, kind of run through it. Because the show was going to be in 20 days. So obviously going into this episode, we kind of see what's going to happen, and we don't know exactly how it's going to play down, but knowing that it's going to be in 20 days with the author of the series having this big of a complaint is not a good thing to have. So we're there, and obviously Aqua's talking to Akane because Akane sees him, and she's really excited to see him because obviously she really does like Aqua, but Aqua has more into it for the business standpoint of the relationship. And so he's like, we see each other every now and then, just, for dates, for public eye. And she's like, yeah, I know, but I really like you, and I'm happy we're doing a job together. And obviously Aqua's just oblivious, and it's a whole sad little thing there, And so while they're over there, we got Melt Boy and Kana watching this whole thing happen, and Melt's kind of like, oh, those two are dating, right? And they met a reality show, and he's all like talking about it, and Kana's just not having it whatsoever because obviously she has a crush on Aqua. And so she's talking like, oh, I guess they did kiss. And she's like, well, it was all based on the, just for publicity at this point, And then he goes off about, well, they do play a couple in the show and in real life. And she's like, I don't like the resemblances of real life into the show, into like things I do. It's too distracting. And she's just really making it clearly obvious she does not like this. And so, Mel's just like, well, where was this when and we were on our last set, and she's like, well, I was kind of ahead of everything, so I was being nice. He's like, oh, I kind of wish you weren't nice about it, because it'd be really cool, if I would have learned something. But, I digress. The poor guy, he just wants to be a good actor, and anything he can get, he'll take. So, we go to the other end of the spectrum after that, and we get to see Abiko talking to her senpai, which for some reason her name kind of slips my mind right now as a character. What the heck is it? It's Yoriko. So Yoriko and her are out eating, and they're kind of like talking about the screenplay and everything, and as long as it's close and everything. But I guess before that, she's talking about how they want to eat, and she doesn't want to interrupt her schedule. But she's like, I just run a monthly serialization, so as long as I got it done, it's no biggie. You on the other hand, run a weekly manga and have an anime adaptation, and you got this going on, and you're going out to eat with me, so it's all good. But let's discuss the manga. She's pretty much going about, or the screenplay, pretty much, And as we come to find out that actually, Abiko is her underling, and she used to be working for her as an editor. And so she knows a lot about her, their quirks and her personas, and she kind of goes off about how mangakas are kind of weird people. Like, a lot of them are. They're very picky about their source material, and she's worried that things aren't going to go very well, which is understandably, because obviously they don't, but, it's like, what do you do? And so they get their drinks and the food and everything, and they're going to go somewhere else after that. But before they can do that, we get a big example about how weird mangakas are, because Abiko wants to go brush her teeth, because she has this weird thing after she eats, she has to brush her teeth, which I guess isn't super weird, but, at a public restaurant, it's kind of weird. But she goes to the bathroom, and our other mangakas over here, talking about how it's really hard for the adaptations. And she's like, well, before we leave, I should probably go piss. And so she goes to go to the bathroom, and there's Abiko freaking in the bathroom, double toothbrushing it up, one on one side, one on the other side, brushing her teeth. And I don't know if it was intentional or not, but one's blue and one's kind of like pinkish red, so it looks like ruby and aqua, yada yada. It probably isn't intentional, but I picked up on it. And so, she's like, yeah, double brushing, you could brush your teeth at double the speed. And it's just absolutely freaking hilarious. Like, these people are just a bunch of fruitcakes. And right after that, we get back to the present. She clearly just instantly knew. She's just like, I knew it. I knew she was going to freak out on this poor writer. And so we get back to, Abiko's perspective, and she's like, pretty much just chewing the shit out of the screenwriter, right? Because she gave the okay, but that's just because she was told that, she's going to like it better in person. And, she's pretty much mad that it's not drawing out the manga's charm. She hates how the characters are to each other. They're rude. And she's like about ready to just rip this poor fucking screenwriter a new asshole. And right before we kind of like delve into what's really happening, she gets kind of pulled away, and we get this perspective of how things kind of go throughout the system, and kind of how Abiko's been like describing to everybody, how she wants it, but it gets so lost in translation, because you got the creator, the sub-editor, the editor, the production assistant, the script writer manager, the script writer, so on and so forth. It's like this huge chain of command to make sure it gets done, and like, obviously things are going to get lost in translation. And not only that, but it's a screenplay, so it has to flow a certain way, obviously, And so she's clearly going over it at one point after she tells her like sub-editor about it, and like he tells the main, the chain, and then the writer rewrites it, and then she's even more mad this time about it. Like, she's just not having this. And so like, obviously a mangaka is sensitive about their work. I get that, but it's just like, holy buckets, Um, and even like the rights manager is just like, I'm gonna have to tone that down. That's a little bit of kind of an angry message, and like so, she's not happy about the whole situation. But like I said earlier, they keep telling her, she's gonna come around when she sees it, and so we get back to Abiko chewing out the whole head of everything. Obviously, we get that perspective again, like we have been, of Yuriko, and she's like, somewhere in the world right now, there's another mangaka doing the exact same fucking thing right now, but I just happen to be witnessing one of them. And like, she's like pointing out the script and like the facts that she has revisions here, and like they didn't revise it, and if they did revise it, they made it worse. And she's saying, you know what, screw it, I'll just write the whole play. And they're like, well, we only got 20 days, and she's like, well, look, if you don't let me do it, I'm not gonna let you use my fucking production, which is obviously gonna cost everybody tons of money. And she's like, I'll just fucking pay the fines, I don't give a shit. Like, this girl is a complete savage. But she even mentions, like, I don't even need credit rights. Just keep his name there and I'll just fucking do it. And that's pretty much the end of that discussion. So at this point in time, Abiko's going to write the script. And a poor script writer is outside with Aqua and Yuriko, and talking about what are you supposed to do, as a script writer. If we do it one way, you're going to piss off the source person. If you do it the other way, you're going to piss off the fans. And then if you do it right, they just credit the author. And like, no matter what, as a screenwriter, you're not getting any credit, which is really kind of sad but true. Obviously there's bad adaptations, there's good adaptations, and some people deserve the guff and some people don't. But no matter what, in the long story, screenwriters get screwed, a lot of ways, bent over 10 times. And it kind of sucks, but what the hell are you supposed to do, And so, the head of everything kind of tells him, like, look, she's taking over, I'm sorry, you're still gonna get paid and everything, but he doesn't want to be on the screen, right, if he's not gonna be the screen, right? But we already learned, it's gonna cost too much money because we're gonna have to reprint everything and all that fun stuff, excuses. That makes sense from a business standpoint, but at the same time, it's like taking credit for something you didn't do, and I can understand from a screenwriter's perspective, that's gotta be brutal, it sucks, what, all that work. And we get into the fact that I want to say his name's Goa. I can't remember it specifically. But either way, we got into his, mind point of how he's been reading the book since chapter 1. And, like, how frickin', he's been putting off a lot of other work so he can focus on that specifically. And he has just been busting his butt. And no matter what, it didn't matter in the end because, sadly, he didn't frickin' get to do it. And so we go back to the place, and the director's like, look, so negotiations are done with the author and everything. We have nothing. So until that's said and done, you guys just got to find something to do. So, we get back there, and Akane is kind of talking about how, it's going to be a stage around play, which never heard of it. I mean, I guess we're going to see one. But just like Aqua's perspective at this point, he's given kind of like this look because he doesn't like plays at all. And the girl that's his, quote unquote girlfriend is a main, stage actress. So she's like used to this stuff and loves it. And she kind of figured that, Aqua was that kind of way. But, he made it really obvious, and she gets slightly kind of offended by it. And so she wants to prove a point and show him how awesome they are, because he hates them because of the slow transitions. It ruins the pace of the show, etc., etc. And those are all reasonable things, because I kind of feel the same way about it. But I wouldn't, hate on it. But at the same time, I get it. And so she's like, look, we got free time, so let's go on a date. And so they're going to go see one right now. And the episode has a perfectly like season 1 always did. I'll give this show that too. Perfectly seamless exit right of the last scene into the outro song. And that is the end of the episode. Holy crap. It's very, like, not convoluted per se, but there's a lot going on, and it's just the feelings and, like, reality and everything else that go with it are so deep and kind of like really, you feel for every character's perspective. You know what I'm saying? And the attention to detail. And I'm loving where the story's going. And I'm really excited to see how this all goes down. Because I have never read the source material. However, I'm very tempted to at this point because the story just flows so well and you never get bored of it. Overall, this was like a really good episode. I'd give it like, a solid like 7.5, 8 out of 10. Nothing like super crazy out of the ordinary happened. However, it kept me going. The pace is building up. We got the conclusive, from last episode. And we have so much more to go. Very excited. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. It means a lot. And if you're feeling generous, hit that subscribe button. We're going to keep getting this train rolling. Yeah, so with that being said, this has been Squids, and I'll see y'all next week. Peace.